The letter arrived without warning, thick paper and heavy words that changed everything. It said he owed the HOA $350,000 for violations he never committed. Daniel stood on his porch, staring at the quiet neighborhood he'd lived in for years, reading the fine print again and again. The HOA claimed his fences were wrong, his driveway crossed restricted land, and his shed violated community rules. They demanded payment within 30 days, or legal action would begin. The promise was clear and cruel. If he didn't pay, they would take his home. Neighbors avoided eye contact as he walked the street that evening. HOA notices were taped to doors like warnings, and cameras seemed to follow him. The board president, smiling in past meetings, now spoke through lawyers. Daniel felt small, cornered, and confused, but buried in the fear was a question that wouldn't leave his mind. Why were they so aggressive? Why now? As night fell, Daniel pulled out a box of old documents his late grandfather had left behind. He didn't know it yet, but inside that box was a truth so powerful it would flip the entire neighborhood upside down, and once uncovered, nothing would ever be the same. The documents smelled of dust and time, folded maps and yellowed deeds stacked with care. Daniel spread them across his kitchen table, scanning names, dates, and land descriptions that stretched far beyond his own lot. One map stopped him cold. It showed parcel lines that didn't match the HOA's claims at all. Streets, lawns, even the clubhouse sat inside a single shaded boundary. His grandfather's name was printed across the top as the original owner. Daniel's heart pounded as he cross-checked the HOA fine notice. The violations referenced land that, according to these documents, wasn't theirs to regulate. The next HOA meeting felt hostile. Board members sat stiff, voices sharp, repeating the fine like a threat. When Daniel calmly mentioned old deeds, laughter rippled through the room. They told him he was mistaken. Outdated paperwork meant nothing, but Daniel noticed something else. Their confidence cracked just slightly. Later that week, the HOA's attorney sent another letter. This one warned him not to interfere with community property or face further penalties. It felt less like authority and more like fear. Daniel scheduled a meeting with a land attorney, bringing every document he owned. As he walked into that office, he still believed he was defending himself. He didn't yet realize he was about to become the owner of everything they stood on. The attorney took hours reviewing the documents, silence filling the room. When he finally looked up, his expression had changed completely. "These aren't just old papers," he said carefully. "They're active, recorded, and valid." The land had never been properly transferred. The HOA controlled appearances, not ownership. Roads, green spaces, even the lots themselves existed under easements tied to Daniel's inherited estate. Daniel felt dizzy. The fines, the threats, the power plays. None of it had legal ground. A certified survey confirmed it days later. Stakes marked boundaries that swallowed the entire neighborhood. The HOA president's house sat directly in the center. Daniel didn't celebrate. He felt stunned. The attorney advised silence. Let the HOA continue pushing. Let them escalate. Every letter they sent strengthened the case against them. Soon, another notice arrived. The fine increased. Interest added. Public posting approved. That was the moment Daniel stopped responding. Instead, his lawyer sent one document back. A formal notice of ownership, accompanied by surveys, deeds, and a request for immediate negotiation regarding unauthorized land use. The HOA board didn't reply. They couldn't, because the truth they had mocked was now standing at their door. Panic spread quietly at first. Closed meetings. Emergency emails. Lawyers rotating in and out of the HOA office. The confidence that once filled every notice disappeared overnight. Then came the call. The HOA requested a private discussion, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. Daniel attended with his attorney, calm and silent as documents were laid across the table. The board members looked smaller than he remembered. They asked him to drop the issue. Offered to adjust the fines. Suggested a peaceful resolution. Daniel declined. Instead, he asked about years of fees collected on land they didn't own. About rules enforced without authority. About residents threatened with penalties just like him. The room went quiet. Days later, residents received a letter. Not from the HOA, but from Daniel's legal team. It explained everything in simple terms. The ownership. The easements. The truth, shock turned into anger. Homeowners demanded answers. Some cried. Others confronted the board. The HOA president resigned within a week, but the biggest question remained: what would Daniel do now that he owned it all? And the answer was something no one expected. Daniel didn't raise rent. He didn't evict anyone. He didn't punish the neighborhood that had unknowingly stood on his land. Instead, he dissolved the HOA entirely. In its place, he offered fair, voluntary agreements. No surprise fines. No control letters. Just clear terms and respect. For the first time, the neighborhood felt free. Residents thanked him. Some apologized for believing the HOA's claims. Others admitted they'd lived in fear for years, afraid of breaking rules they never understood. Daniel kept his own home unchanged. Same fence. Same shed. Same quiet porch. The former HOA tried one last legal move, but it collapsed under its own weight. The fines vanished. The threats ended. What remained was peace. The neighborhood learned a powerful lesson about authority and truth. And Daniel learned that standing still, calm, and patient could be stronger than any demand. But the story didn't end there, because one final twist was still waiting. Months later, a former board member reached out privately. They confessed everything. The HOA had known for years that the land records were incomplete. They relied on intimidation, assuming no one would ever challenge them. Daniel's inheritance was their greatest fear realized. The confession became public record. Trust in similar HOAs nearby collapsed. Investigations followed. Policies changed. Daniel never sought attention, but his story traveled far. Not as revenge, but as a warning. Authority without truth always falls. Standing on his porch one evening, watching children play freely on streets once ruled by notices and fines, Daniel felt something rare: closure. He hadn't fought with anger. He hadn't needed force. He simply let the truth speak, and when it did, an entire system unraveled, all because one man opened an old box and asked the right question. The HOA that fined him $350,000 no longer existed. Its power dissolved the moment truth replaced fear. Daniel still lives there, not as a ruler, but as a neighbor. The land remains shared, respected, and peaceful. People often ask why he didn't profit more, why he didn't push harder. He always gives the same answer: because peace was worth more than proving a point. The shocking twist wasn't ownership alone. It was what he chose to do with it, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.